Hello again and welcome to Money Matters. Art sales in the world's third largest market, China, dropped by 10% to 11.7 billion US dollars last year, thanks to the US-China trade war, a lackluster economy, and now the pandemic. Hong Kong is a major hub for the art trade. Zella Chin checks out a local art exhibition to learn more about the industry's pivot to the digital sphere.
It's a rare opportunity to see masterpieces at the latest art exhibition in the convention center. Edie Hu is a regular at the art shows around town. She runs her own art advisory and appraisals business and helps her clients to build their collections.
I look for sort of interesting pieces that might help fill a gap that might work for a client's collection, and I give them advice. I look at the condition and also just to see if it is the price right for, if it's overpriced.
Normally, she would take her clients to view the art together, but this year is different.
This is usually autumn auction season in Hong Kong, with plenty of overseas visitors, exhibitions, and parties. But because of COVID-19, few people are traveling and buying art.
A lot of people who normally come, especially during this weekend, which is October 1st weekend, would come from China, and for Golden Week, they are not coming. So it is a lot quieter. It's mainly local Hong Kong visitors. Yeah, they're gorgeous. The light really picks up on the glaze.
Since many of Edie's clients can't visit the city because of the travel restrictions, she acts as their eyes and ears on the ground and reports what she learns from the sales staff.
You have to take a lot more detailed pictures and a lot more sort of text message and calls and stuff. Just giving a lot of more details that normally you take for granted because you're actually in front of the piece, handling the piece.
This exhibition, organized by Sotheby's, showcased consignments for their autumn auctions. Sometimes before the works come to Hong Kong, the sales staff exhibit the pieces in different cities for their clients to view in person. But because of the travel restrictions, they had to be creative.
The specialists couldn't travel, the works could travel, so what we had is the works in these different cities, and I had specialists here speaking with them live as they stand in front of the work. So they can, on the one hand, experience the work firsthand and get the specialist's point of view and passion for this piece.
The auction house enforced social distancing measures at the show. Everyone must wear face masks. Only 50% of the capacity of the space are allowed in. And no VIP mix and mingle area this year. In previous years, the auctions used to be held on site. But this October, the auctions were filmed live from its offices for clients to watch online in real time.
We have multiple camera angles in different occasions, London, New York, and Hong Kong, to really give a sense of the international participation in our sales, with infographics as well, little videos on the works, extra information. So that's really in order to replicate the live experience.
And some works fetch extraordinary prices, such as a scroll by a Yuan dynasty painter Ren Renfa called 5 Drunken Princes Returning on Horseback.
This is really an extraordinary masterpiece of classical painting, one of only 8 paintings by Ren Renfa that are firmly attributable to the painter.
I think that was an incredible sale. It shows the strength of the market and the depth of the market. I think that there were at least 3 or 4 very active bidders that went all the way to the end.
The scroll was bought by a mainland Chinese buyer for $307 million, which includes the auction house's commission. Despite some high sums, total sales at Sotheby's spring and autumn auctions have been steadily dropping. The chairman says the pandemic added to an already tough couple of years for clients impacted by the US-China trade war.
There's been a slight lack of confidence in the Chinese economy in the last few years. It's also impacted the trade war, the Taiwanese economy. And so for those traditional categories that rely on China and Taiwan, there's been, there's been a drop in consignments and sales. But again, at the very top of the market, there's quite a lot of engagement.
And closer to home, the city had its own problems.
Last year there were the protests just raging on the streets as we were having the auction and sort of pushing buyers away, so we didn't have so much foot traffic in October 2019 as well.
Sales in the Hong Kong auction market in 2019 dropped 25% year-on-year. And the art gallery hub on Hollywood Road in Central has seen better days.
If you walked around Hollywood Road like over 10 years ago, you would have seen a lot more antique shops on Hollywood Road, and contemporary art galleries moved in. Now with coronavirus too, I think a lot of the galleries have also closed. The contemporary galleries have also moved away. So it's a lot quieter now.
In a different part of Central, a contemporary Chinese art gallery closed after 10 years.
Pedder Building is really a perfect site in the downtown for an art gallery. And we were in the company of many galleries, international and local. But we moved out of that space in June this year when the lease came up for renewal, because at this point there's very few visitors on the street. So we are hibernating.
Johnson Chang didn't renew the $500,000 per month lease on the gallery to cut down on his overhead. He retreated to his Kwai Chung warehouse for the time being.
Louis Chang was born in 1905, so he was peer with the first generation of Chinese modern artists.
Widely credited for kickstarting international interest in contemporary Chinese artwork, Johnson is hosting a new exhibition called a Botanical Garden.
Given the change in the season, given the people's interest in going out with the lockdown for so many months, the idea of Botanical Garden seems to offer a fresh breeze. So we put together paintings that have to do with the outdoors.
For those who can't come to his gallery, he also exhibits and sells works online.
There are companies who have created platforms just for art galleries to show. And we make use of one or two of these platforms so that we participate in group exhibitions together with other galleries on the digital space.
While some galleries have embraced digital tools, art sales globally dropped by 36% in the first half of 2020 versus a year earlier.
For people to buy art without seeing them in the flesh, it is less easy to get excited about their work. You do not confront it physically. So most sales are with smaller pieces, and the value, of course, is much less.
Johnson sold 11 pieces from his private collection during the autumn auctions. Altogether, they fetch more than $109 million. And he plans to use the income on new projects.
We are helping to publish a series of books on India since the 1990s. The idea is to introduce to China new cultural writers from India, and also to open up to another way to imagine Asia.
Johnson has pivoted his business to weather the current economic downturn. He thinks other segments of the art market will remain bright.
For artists who are already established, this may be a very good chance, because if people want to spend money, they want to be safe. And art is still a very good place to park money. However, I think even though it may not be the best time for younger artists and new experimental artists will be forced to rethink the situation on a global scale. So that will be, I think, beneficial for art production in the long term.
The U.S. Justice Department is suing Google for antitrust violations. It has alleged it abused its dominance in online search and advertising to stifle competition and harm consumers. The suit marks the government's most significant attempt to protect competition since its groundbreaking case against Microsoft more than 20 years ago. The move could be an opening salvo ahead of other actions against major tech companies like Apple, Amazon, and Facebook. Google has long denied the claims of unfair competition. It argues its businesses are useful and beneficial to consumers. Robots will destroy 85 million jobs at mid-sized to large businesses over the next 5 years. The World Economic Forum says the COVID-19 pandemic will accelerate these changes in the workplace. It will exaggerate workplace inequality. Surveys of nearly 300 global companies found 4 out of 5 businesses were speeding up plans to digitize work and deploy new technologies. And by 2025, employers will divide work between humans and machines equally. The forum says if workers want to remain in their roles, nearly half would need to learn new skills. Electric car maker Tesla has announced it will export the made-in-China Model 3 to Europe from its Shanghai Gigafactory. The first batch of vehicles left Shanghai last week and will arrive in Belgium at the end of November before being sold in the European market. The first phase of Model 3 production has already reached full capacity. The second phase production for the Model Y vehicle is under construction. The Shanghai Gigafactory is China's first wholly foreign-owned vehicle manufacturing project. It is also Tesla's first gigafactory outside the U.S.
Coming up after the break, Money Matters goes on the hunt for the liveliest and most sought-after retail spaces, which these days are delivering fabulous value for small businesses. Stay with us. Welcome back to Money Matters. Many street shops in Hong Kong have closed due to social distancing and the travel ban. Overall street shop vacancy rates have surged in the second quarter, and rents in the core business areas have dropped. Alice Khan reports how some niche takeaway businesses are doing well and expanding.
Barbecue pork on rice, packed in a big paper cup.
$198, thank you.
Customers flock to this new takeaway store in Sheungwan at lunchtime. Each day, the shop staff prepare 300 portions of rice and pork. Sherman and his partner Angsgar started their takeaway business in August. A gutsy move during a pandemic, but street shop rents had come down. The size of the shop is around 500 square feet. They pay $54,000 a month, 10% lower than the previous tenants.
Just a little bit, not too much. Some locations are cheaper because of the coronavirus. Smaller shops that have plenty of foot traffic won't see rent lowered much. This location has lots of offices and restaurants, which can guarantee a lot of foot traffic and business. We chose this location because we feel our product can stand out in the market.
The specialty is barbecue pork. They sell a box for $60. That's $10 higher than a traditional Chinese restaurant.
Sherman, you are selling char siu. What must people go for your products?
Actually, you can't find this type of char siu. We developed our own flavor. It has honey, hot spice, and pomelo.
Why do takeaway?
Takeaway business is mainly because the costs are lower, rent is lower, because the shop is smaller and the operating cost is lower.
Sherman says his business has been better than expected.
How much do we make monthly? Well, our operating cost is over $200,000. Revenue is over $400,000, resulting in $200,000 net profit.
We're standing now in Sheungwan and Central location. Many of the people, during lunchtime, office hours, they come down to here, and the spending power here that they have is quite high. If people can spend less than $100 takeaway per head, and it's a good business to operate nowadays.
Actually, many retailers and other restaurant business owners are not as lucky as Sherman. Many of them suffered badly and closed their businesses because of the pandemic.
It was the social unrest and then the COVID. So the overall situation for many of the retailers and even F&B operators are very, very challenging. They share with us, in the core area, the sales drop over 80%. the restrictions on the government. So not more than 4 people, they are allowed to gather together to hang out with people and to put their families together. So I really think people are looking for some fast options in terms of food. They just want to grab and they're going to take it back to their office or to the home to have the food. So that's why I think Chinese restaurant, yum cha place, they are hit the most rather than comparing to fast food restaurants or takeaway shops.
Oliver Tong says the global lockdown badly hurt tourists targeting retailers and restaurants, forcing some to break their leases and fold. As a result, the overall street vacancy rate jumped to a record high 16.8% in the second quarter, while street shop rents dropped as much as 47% in the core districts, especially the tourist areas. Now, Sherman and his partner are looking to expand.
Since rents are cheaper, it is easier to bargain with landlords.
They met Edwin Lee, the shop analyst, to hunt for a second shop in Tin Hau. They looked at this one on a street corner. The size is only 100 square feet. The landlord wants $20,000 a month. Edwin says the landlord may offer a lower rent, as the market rate is only $16,000. It does not have a water supply, but Sherman thinks this is not a big deal because he has his own food factory.
We can pre-make the food and sell it where there's no water supply. We can run this business model in the shop.
Just like some of the convenience stores that you see, just pick up from the prepackaged food, and then the customers may be able to heat up by themselves in the microwave, or they bring the food home to heat up by themselves. Then you don't need any license to sell the prepackaged food here. Then this spot may be suitable.
There is one drawback: no people.
The foot traffic is not great. It's not easy to make money here. It sits alone in the corner. Most restaurants are in the back where people usually go find food.
Then they looked at another space in a residential area of Shaokeiwan. The size of this shop is 450 square feet. It has a toilet and water. The kitchen can be built at the back and the counter in the front. It also has a 300 square foot attic above. The layout is similar to Sherman's existing shop in Shenzhen. The landlord is asking $60,000 a month. Edwin thinks the facilities and the size fits their takeaway business.
In terms of the facility, because for a food takeaway, we look at the water supply, whether there's water supply in the shop. Second, we look at the electricity, whether the electricity is enough. Usually for a shop like this one, below about 500 square feet, we need about electricity of 3-phase electricity with a 60 ampere. Then it's already enough.
Sherman also agrees it is suitable for a takeaway business, but he worries the initial setup costs will be very high because he has to build a kitchen from scratch.
First, I need to build the kitchen from scratch. The ceiling, the wall, and the flooring need to be renovated. The false ceiling needs to be taken out, and we need to rebuild the ventilation. So it's a lot of work. Costs are high, at about $700,000 to $800,000. My existing shop's expense on renovation is only $300,000, so this is an important factor.
Currently, Sherman's Shenzhen takeaway is positioned as a trendy store. He doesn't think his brand would fit this area.
There are a lot of primary students, elderly here. The restaurant next door is selling lunch boxes at $40. If I sell $60 here, I don't think it'll work.
But he says there's a chance he could sell a lower-end brand here.
This brand is more down to earth, $40 per box of rice. Plenty of foot traffic, stable business, morning to evening, every day of the week. It's a good location for this type of business in the long term.
Oliver Tong believes takeaway operators can afford to wait because the street rents will continue to fall.
In the short to medium term, I think rent will still under a lot of pressure. Downwards pressure. So this year, again, will be around 40%. And next year, we are thinking about 5 to 10% corrections for the whole year.
Well, hello, Maine! As the campaign winds down to tomorrow's vote, no one seems to have figured out the source of the White House COVID outbreak. Least of all the man charged with handling America's virus pandemic, seen here pointing at spectators who look just like him. Huh.
It's on, Maine.
I think he may have meant, it's on me. I don't want to spread any rumors, but he's been all over the administration, and Pence has been everywhere too. Seen here next to the POTUS, or man who's dreaming of becoming a big barbecue Cheeto after the votes are in, and he, perhaps, is out. Cheese lovers, pay attention. We're all over the moon about the U.S. decision to send humans back to Earth's satellite. We await the deadline of 2024 with soon-to-be breathless anticipation. But in space, no one can hear you cheer, so hooray! We're going back to the moon. Now, it's a small step for the Sharpies at the tip of the rocket in NASA to think about returning us to the lunar surface, but it's a giant leap to planet. The first thing they'll be installing well before human settlements will be a mobile wireless communication system. Because, dude, you need your broadband, right, bro? Nokia was selected to deliver the equipment. Now comes what they'll charge for a monthly plan. Could be astronomical. You can bet roaming will be extra. The hang could last forever. Once settled, will humans finally determine if the old man in the moon is brie or cheddar? Whatever. It's sure to taste out of this world. In the almond country of Wisconsin, far from the racket of the U.S. presidential election, a beekeeper plies his trade knowing that at the end of his season, he'll be stung, with 60% of his honeybees dead. Plus, COVID has eaten into his sales. But beekeeper James Cook, and man who wished he'd made a different hat choice, says, unbelievably, he's decided to expand. He and his partner Samantha Jones know they'll be in debt for a time, but starting a business in these challenging times will make them more resilient. The Bird and Bees Honey Company now has about 750 bee colonies. The bird in their company name is their parrot. They're a patient duo. COVID may buzz off slowly, but their honey can be stored indefinitely. Sweet.
Thanks for watching. Next time on Money Matters, online startups have sprung up everywhere despite the hardships of the pandemic. The secret is to choose your sector carefully. See you then. Good night.